Clip.
Dude, that was awesome. Guys, thanks for throwing that together. That was cool.
Yeah, hey, we do one for every episode, man. So that's why when I was chatting with you, I was like, because I remember you put together that promo video last year for the campaign, and you had Jon talking. Now at the end, after Pink Buzz part, I wanted to put the snip the part where he says, "I'm too old for this shit," and I wanted to close it out with that, but I deleted. I must have deleted it last year after, I don't know, I didn't have it in my files anymore, but anyway.
Yeah, I cleaned up my Twitter. I got so much random crap that I deleted my old messages.
Yeah.
And all the old stuff I did because we're in talks with some big publishers right now for the imprint. And so like a lot of that old stuff got deleted. And then a lot of the stuff was the audio gets copyright struck all the time. So I just I had someone dub some music for me and make a new one, but I couldn't find it, so I apologize.
Yeah.
I like the new one's good.
Yeah, we put it. Yeah, I throw those together real quick. I have a template now, so it's pretty cool. Like, doesn't take me too long. I bang them out pretty quick, so it's fun.
Sweet.
Yeah. So now that you touched on it, the imprint, man, Kuroshi Comics. That's you started that with Chris Stevens, if I'm not mistaken.
How about we do an introduction? Joey, how about we do an introduction?
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Because he touched on it. I didn't want to forget, so I wanted to get to it. But yeah, we'll do an introduction. Sorry, Nick.
Good.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, this episode's been a little bit long in the tooth. Like, it's been trying to happen for a while, but we're really happy that it's finally come to fruition. And tonight on the show, we are very happy, very proud to present Nick. Nick, go ahead and introduce yourself. Kind of drop the line on who you are and what you've done in the past.
Well, first off, I know that no one knows who I am, so thanks for having me on. I'm one of the Nicks that worked with Hickman at Image for a long time. Me and Nick Dragata. Let's see. I've been in comics for about 15 years, full-time for about 10, maybe 11. My main thing is the Manhattan Projects with Hickman, Red Wing with Hickman. I've got Leviathan and Limbo with Layman. That's still in the wind. That, when my kid got sick, got canceled by Image, but we still want to fix it. Although Layman gets mad at me because I'm too slow. But, in the middle of that, that's my main stuff. I've done a lot of covers for IDW, probably like 50 or 60. Little Ninja Turtles work, little Marvel work. I did a Flex Mentallo issue at DC. Little odds and ends here and there, but that's about it. And then when my kid got sick, I made Ax-Wielder Jon. I said, I'm going to make something my way. When Image told me that book Leviathan was canceled, because I was like, man, fuck it. I'm just going to make this book. And my kid was sick in the hospital. She's good now. But at that time, I was like doodling in my sketchbook, and this cool barbarian guy kind of showed up. And I was like, man, I'll never be in a more stressful time in my life as a new dad. There's a lot of stuff. I think as a writer, you need some life experience to know what you even want to say. And I think I had some stuff I wanted to say about my own dad, about fatherhood, about what it means to be a dad. You know, like Ax-Wielder Jon has this thing where it's like in the later volumes, he's like, I'm going to get to be more of a killer because I have a reason to kill now, right? And now I'm like, I get to draw more now because now I got to provide for this little kid. You know, I got to be even better. But really, I need to be a dad, you know, and that's going to be like a lesson for Jon later, you know. There's going to be that kind of pool. It's just me like putting an avatar over some of the men in my lives and putting them into a story and having them interact. And really, it was about plotting the points out. And with Hickman, a lot of people don't know this, but the Manhattan Projects was all done in Marvel style, which was he would just give me like a loose plot, and I would go in and draw the characters moving around, picking their ass or whatever they were doing, and that kind of gave me a good schema in my head about how to tell stories. Like I just need to get the page turn right for comics. Comics has a limitation between the panel, but this is all my intro, by the way. comics has a limitation, you know, with the page turns and the beats and the chapter breaks or whatever. And if you have that limitation, but it's also an advantage because now you've got some structure. Now you know, you can read Save the Cat or Stephen King's own writing and learn some stuff about where to put these plot points to get the right emotional beats at the right time. And I was just ready to do it. I had this saying, and this is my favorite saying that I've come up with that's going to ruin me for life from ever working with a writer, is I realized that Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Brian Michael Bendis, Donnie Cates, Robert Kirkman, everybody, like every big author in comics had one thing in common. And do you guys know what it is?
They all need an artist.
Well, they're all failed cartoonists.
Yeah.
I said, man, those guys are just like me, but with more quit in them. And I ain't got no quit in me. I'm making Ax-Wielder Jon, man.
Nice.
That's kind of how that took off. And then, so I made Ax-Wielder and I put everything I had into it, worked on it quietly, starting in the pandemic. Because my daughter's 4 now, but I didn't start it for 2 years or so. And then I was like, man, why this pandemic thing's going on? I'm just going to freaking do this thing, you know? I'm going to just sit down and work and come out. And I put about $35K into it, a lot, without paying myself either. So it would have cost me a lot to, like, my regular rate for 100 something pages would have been a lot. And then plus I paid Dos Pastoras and a bunch of people to come on board. And I just wanted to make one book my way. And you have these thoughts in your head whenever you're a creator, you're like, I could do this or I could do this better. And I was like, well, are you going to put up or shut up? You know, are you going to try to actually do it? And I said, okay, well, if I was the editor, if I was a publisher, I would hire Chris Stevens because he's won multiple Eisners. He's written me some nasty messages on Facebook, and he was like, you need to get your shit together, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who is this guy, you know? And I was like, whenever it was time to make Ax-Wielder, I was like, that's the guy I need, you know? Like, I need the guy that's going to tell me like it is for whatever. God knows what he was going through at the time, but I was like, that's the guy that I need in my corner. And, great. I would open a book and see a great book design, and I would just turn to the front and be like, okay, if I was the publisher, I'd hire him. And I reached out to Ben Dieter, who's super good. You know, he's all class, that guy. And he really raises the whole book up to a new level. And then
he did. He's awesome. He did a great job on Little Bird as well. Another book we love here. So when I saw you picked him up as a designer on socials, I was like, "Fuck yeah, man, that's good."
Yeah. That's the exact same book that I opened up, and I was like, "Man, I love these chapter break illustrations. I love what he does." And he's like a real designer. Like, he's not like a real designer, but he's like a real designer. Like a
graphic designer.
When you put on your Old Spice and it's got the little curls and designs, like that's Ben. Like Ben did that, you know. But he kind of dabbles in books, and so I convinced him to come on board, and just the whole creative team. There were so many wonderful people. All the colorists we started getting. I was just like, okay, I'm going to try this guy out. When Mike is the best. Like, I love Mike. Ooh. Yeah, he's so good.
Oh man, this book, the coloring, like, it complements your work so well. It's beautiful, man. It's fantastic. Like Michael Garland did. Man, I can't throw enough compliments his way. Like, man, you guys together, it's like kind of like I'll go back to Little Bird. Like, I love the way Ian Bertram and Michael Hollinsworth work together. You and Michael have that same kind of vibe going, where the book, it just looks freaking fantastic, man. Like,
the way you did the art in general for this book was really special, right? Didn't you do like really, really big panels for each panel is like a really, really big, I forget the actual measurement, but
yeah, each one's on like its own 11 by 17 board. So this isn't 11 by 17, but like most boards are like, so here's like a big John here. But like, basically it's kind of like this isn't that big, but one panel is like enormous, you know. They're all like 11 by 17s or something.
Yeah.
And so like I knew that in the crowdfunding space you have the advantage of the art again. There's two things.
Yes.
So it's the two biggest things in the crowdfunding space. One, it's not actually your story, because you're likely not going to have your story finished. Ax-Wielder Jon, we had an early PDF where my pages that weren't finished, we kind of did the rough, which you guys saw, where people could read it, right? So we could get early reviews and create promotion for it. That was so big. Like, that was so big. and having it almost done or mostly done was really important, because as you invert everything in the crowdfunding space. If I do something for Marvel, they say I can't show it because it's got to be limited for stores. But if you do something in the crowdfunding space, that inclination to show stuff right away for a year or two, like I did with Ax-Wielder, everyone's like, what is this book? Who is this barbarian? You know? And it created a buzz.
A buzz, yeah.
Created a buzz. And then people were like, well, what is this? And I started having people reach out. I had Mark Millar reach out. He sent me a bunch of money signs. He's like, you want to work with me? I was like, I'm working on this. I was like, it was like super cool, right? But it was like people were getting this initial reaction. And I realized that it's not the writer that matters. I need visuals that look incredible to really attract people. You know, I need this like a hook. And then I thought this in a very literal, magical way. Alan Moore says to spell is simply to spell. And I said to draw, I'm going to draw them to me. I'm going to draw so well that you go, wait, what is that? Like you have that moment. And then I thought, okay, well, if I'm fishing for people and just like me, like I would love a bloody barbarian, and these axes look like hooks. So I was like, I'm going to cast as many hooks as possible out and make this the most insane version of what the general concept that I stole, which I won't say because it's a spoiler, but I kind of did the general idea of big grumpy man protects people, but I did it like times 10 or 100, you know? And that was like, I was going to do something like that in like the most commercially only a comic book. It can only exist as a comic, maybe an animated feature, which might be in the works, maybe, right?
Whoa, shit.
I would love to see that.
I don't know.
The humor in this is on point.
No comment, but
villains. I mean, like the humor in this is on point. I would love to see it animated.
Yeah, and then I thought too that 1/3 panel is exactly a keyframe, almost exactly a keyframe in animation. So I realized that it would be when people were reading. I just planned it so much. I was like, every one tier, and then I could just do a page a day, a panel a day. And then it was like, okay, this guy drew this thing insanely large, right? So it already has like a little thing. It's a crazy character. He's missing a nose and missing a face. Like that seems like insane. He's got hundreds of axes on him. That's nuts. He's got skulls. He's got this thing. I was just going to be like over exuberant with everything because everything's a talking point and everything's a point for me to sell. But also that's what I want. Like my room is consumed with this crap, you know, like it's all what is I look around the room and I'm like, did I organize this room? Is it like, it's literally like your mind. It's like, these are all my influences. Is this thing did I build this or did this thing build me or what the hell's going on here? You know, it's like a mind. It's like a, what do they call that cube that you can't get out of?
I don't know.
Tesseract. It's like a tesseract or something.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. So that was kind of my concept going in. And I really felt, I just wanted to tell the story and I wasn't going to have anyone tell me no. And I wasn't going to ask. I talked to Jeff Darrow sometimes on the phone and I was just like, I'm just over asking. I'm not going to ask for permission to make what I want. You know, I just don't believe in that. I'm not going to say, will you do this? And with Kuroshi, what the plan is I'm going to get this imprint with Ax-Wielder, and there's a bunch of publishers out looking for it now. They're like, we've talked to them and we're going to settle on the best deal. And we got a good one in place. So now I'm going to do a thing where we crowdfund everything where you don't ever have to give up your IP, right? Like, because so many people, like, I love James Herron on Ultra Mega. I love Kirkman, but they had to work out probably some deal for him to bring it to Skybound, right? And he's probably, there's a chance he's lost some. I don't know this for sure, by the way, but let's use that as an example, right?
I've heard stories. I don't know if they're true, but
there's a chance. So why would you? Let's say you're making 500 a page or 400 to keep your lights on. Well, if I could use someone as big as Herron and say, James, let's take over this crowdfunding space, right? I can use your name. We can give you an artist edition the day the book comes out. You can make all this money on the original art alone, much less all this other stuff. And then we'll do a soft cover 2 years down the line and have international distribution, have the literally Penguin Random House be in all the bookstores down the line too. So marrying the two, which many people have done. Matt Kent's kind of doing it. There's other guys doing it. But then I could say, and what do I want from you is like, I want the best for you. I want nothing. what I want from you is to beat Ax-Wielder Jon, beat it, and then we'll just keep making our own books, and then all of his fans are my fans, and then Trad Moore can come and all the Felix guys, and I don't know if you guys know Felix Comic Art at all, the art. Yeah, so he had no artists before me. I was the first artist that joined on board, and I didn't take anything when I said, hey, James Herron, come over, Trad, come over, Otley, come over, and was recruiting people. I didn't say, give me a % of your stuff. I said, dude, if you guys get around my stuff, one, I'm making more than you guys with art, which is insane because y'all are better than me. So you guys can come make more. But then as they make more, also I make more. So it's kind of cool. Like, you don't really need to be greedy. You just need to do good work and give stuff away, and it kind of comes back. So my plan for Kuroshi is to kind of do the same thing. And if I could do that, one, I'm just making a place to make my books, but I think it's going to be a place where I think other people will want to make books. And we already have some books we're working on privately, but they're maybe a year or 2 years away if they're big graphic novels, you know.
Chris has an anthology, I think, series that he's working on that's going to come out. Yeah,
and he's got so many big creators. He's still corralling everything, but it's a lot of it's done. It's beautiful. It's called Pretender, and then there's some other books where, like there's a few questions with artists, right? Like, how do I shake loose their Hellboys, right? One, I say I want nothing from you. I want the best for you. Come beat me. Come join me. And like, how do you get them though? Because there might be scared of writing. Well, we got Chris Stevens, Eisner Award-winning story editor. If I can get like the right promoter on the line, the right lawyer to protect the IP, I think if all that could line up in my theoretical big imagination brain, then you could just create like this holy ground for creation where you don't need to ever go to a publisher and ask. And there's and like the publishers I talked with, they might get a great idea from an artist, but with this writer-driven direct market, they might not be able to game. They would never have said yes to Ax-Wielder Jon. None of the people that are offering me a line right now would have ever said, yeah, we'll give you a line. They wouldn't even said yes to paying me to do Ax-Wielder Jon, you know, and let me own it all. But now I can go in and say, well, I've already made it. I think my book is as good as anything you're doing or close to it. Or, you know, like, why can't, and so like, if you want this property to make money on it with me, let's do a basic profit sharing deal on the collections that you guys do for us. I think that's a real potential for the future of publishing and the future of like protecting people's rights. Like, why are we giving away the stuff we create? Like, this is our stuff. And then if you know you own it, I bet you're going to draw it 3 times up. If you know you're going to do it, I bet you're going to hit your deadlines harder when you know everyone's riding on you. If you know all of this matters and you're making it for you and your family and your friends and the people that depend on you, how can it not be your best work? How could you disservice yourself? So if I can get the best creators doing their best work, which is what Chris Stevens and I's motto is on Kuroshi, I just think it'll be wonderful. I don't know. I can't write and draw for everybody, right? I can only do my work. Yeah. And that's where Chris comes in. But I'm going to make the place that I want for me. And then hopefully it's good for other people. And that's the best I can do, you know?
Mm-hmm. Hey, I mean, like you're saying for the publishers and stuff, the book speaks for itself. I mean, it sells itself. Like, I'm sure now when the book done and everything, you bring it to them. John and I read it and we were blown away. We're like, this is better than anything that's out there right now. Like, hands down. Any publisher, I wouldn't be surprised if they're beating each other, like trying to get to the front to get you guys on, because this book is fucking tremendous. Yeah. It's tremendous. Like Johnny even said, we did a quick review and Johnny's like, dude, man, this is going to be like a modern classic. It's right up there. Like,
well, that means a lot to hear. Obviously, I like hearing it, and it's so scary writing and drawing, like, because you know what you want. I can control what's going down onto the page. I cannot control how that page 100% comes out of the page and into your imagination, right? Like, that's a real leap of faith that I think I can pull it off. And luckily with Chris, and my wife's a writer, and we have this problem where we watch movies and we're like, if they would have cut that scene right here, you know, like, we're story editors now. We're not actually viewers of content, which is a fucking nightmare. But it's fun. But if you start loving a story like that, It's like everything you've read on comic book resources, every movie you've watched, it's all been your teacher, you know? It's all been and if you start looking at your life as a lesson teacher to you that you could put into your work, things that hurt you, things that scared you, and you put some avatars over them like a big, vagina monster like Lord Fang, then you can kind of like just play Halloween with general concepts that are universal, and I think that's what storytelling is.
Like the way I found out about your book is that I backed something else on Zoop previously, then the preview, your like upcoming projects popped up. I think it was up there for a good month or so, or a couple months before the project started. And that first image you used there of like just the all red and he's holding and he's just looking, you see like the scar. I was like, the fuck is this? So then I started, and all of a sudden more stuff started popping up on socials, and I'm like, fuck, man, this looks freaking awesome. Like you said, you just started dropping stuff and building it. And I think you built it up for like 2 months before the campaign even started. And,
I teased it before nuts. I actually said the name and had the logo made. I had teased it for almost probably a year. But then like before the campaign, Zoop wanted to launch it like 4 months earlier. And I was like, I'd already told them yes. And then it was like, they were like more in a rush. And I was like, I want to get as much complete, because it's such an advantage to say it's complete, right? It's so, and even now, like, I mean, the book, you got the PDF, but we're waiting on printers. We're dealing with all that. Mm-hmm. It's not even in people's hands. And I'm speaking like it's out, but it's not out yet, but it's like, it's done. But like the more lead time, the better. I don't think you can overshare in the crowdfunding space, maybe minus spoilers. I don't think, because I think that the more it became real in your head, Joe, like, oh, there's this picture, there's this cool panel, there's this cool double page spread. What? It's all drawn 3 times larger. What? Frank quietly said it was amazing. And that was cool too. Like Vin, like, doesn't like me bothering him all the time. That's his real name, Vincent. And he was like, yeah, it looks amazing. And he's supposed to do a cover for me, and he's never gotten around to it for years, which is fine. But I'm like, hey, instead of doing the cover, can I just use your pull quote of amazing? And he's like, oh yeah, do it. Just leave me alone, And I was like, so then I used that, amazing, amazing, amazing. But he finally read it, and he wrote me like the best. It kind of did make me water up. I made my wife cry. But he said, amazing. This is what he said. He said, I inspired him, which was really nice to hear. He's probably just being nice, but he said, amazing doesn't seem enough now. And I was like, wow, that's really nice. So I know he's just being nice, but a little bit of my ego will.
I don't know, man.
Like, now you're just fishing for compliments, I think, Nick.
Oh, no.
I'm not kidding. Like, with how the side characters are in this book and just how glorious it looks. But I mean, it's not, I don't want to sell it as it's just like this book that looks really nice, because it is written very well. Like especially the villain characters, I absolutely love the Frank and the kid. I don't
Frank and Bloodbath. Yeah, everyone loves Frank and Bloodbath, right? The Bloodbath.
Yeah, those are 2 of my favorite characters, man. I love them. They're great.
Horus and the Oracle are great. I mean, like all the villains are just superb, man. Like even the dude on the dinosaur. I mean,
yeah, they're all like. So I loved writing those characters. There's only so much space, and what. So like my favorite writer when it comes to a character walks on the page and they were walking around in that writer's head way longer is Brian K. Vaughan. Like if you read Brian K. Vaughan's stuff in Saga, you understand the will like the second you see him. You understand, you know what I mean? Like
me and Joe talked about this last night. That's hilarious.
Dude, I'm telling you, like when his characters walk in, they have lived in his head. But when I draw pages, that perspective works off the page too. So like I always thought like quietly grounds Morrison's heady ideas better than everybody else, because he's got that flow through the panel off the page and he knows how everything moves. So you're grounded, and then you can kind of get Morrison's bigger concepts better. What I think would be awesome if Quietly ever worked with Brian K. Vaughan. So then I thought, okay, if I can be a watered down Brian K. Vaughan and a watered down Frank Quietly, I'll be a full man. I'll be my own man. I'll be a real boy. As my
Yeah.
And so like I thought, and that was the main thing too, is like, who's the last creator who wrote and drew a character in the last 30 years that made an avatar for themselves that's synonymous with them? And it's really Mignola's the biggest, right, with Hellboy.
Mm.
You can't say Mignola, we can't say Hellboy or Mignola without them interchanging in your head. Like I wanted a character to represent me in the comic book space. Like that was so important to me. And the way Jeff did on Shaolin Cowboy, Madman for Mike Allred, the Goon. What's Usagi Yojimbo, Stan. So you have all these guys that are doing that. And those are all Dark Horse guys, oddly enough. So maybe
is that a hint to who you're teaming up with to get this out into shops?
No, no comment. No comment.
Yeah, no. I'm not trying to trap you. I'm just teasing.
We're talking to a lot of publishers right now. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun process right now. Like the book is done, people are reading it, publishers are sharing it around behind the scenes, and it's obviously nice to be wanted. I get like manic energy from it, you know. It's nice to me. But what I love more than anything is like my wife is a writer too, and you sit like 2 years, 3 years with these guys, and then to hear someone likes Frank, right, or they like Bloodbath, or like, you know, Frank is in the comic, Frank's this character who's a retiring executioner, and the green new executioner is quick to fight and quick to be
the kid,
the kid, you know. And like I was like, man, I love that dynamic. My dad's a construction worker, you know, and I used to do some of the construction work and carry the ladders and think all these old farts are doing it the wrong way, you know. Even now with Kuroshi, I'm like, I'm going to do this a different way, you know. So there's like a big part of me that's in Bloodbath, but then there's a big part of me that needs to be what Jon needs to learn. But all that is really from a lot of the father figures in my life. And another big character is going to be in the next volume is the main character is Basil. She's the frame narrator. I never name her. So the frame narrator that's drawing Jon's story shows up. There's a real reason for that. It's not like she's manifesting him. She's writing that comic that frames everything to reframe his story for other characters down the line so they can see him as a hero instead of a villain, you know, which is what I wanted the readers to see. And I think the coolest part about any of this is like, it's harder on here because like, there could be spoilers, but it's like, man, when you put all this work into it and you actually hear people like Frank lives in their head, you know, like he's actually a guy you like, and I made him up, you know, and I'm like, oh, that feels so good, man. That's like the most rewarding feeling, you know.
I could easily, like, if you did a one shot of just Frank and Bloodbath just walking around in the banter, like, I love that. Like, I would read that, like, just a one shot of those two guys just back and forth, and you know, like. And most of their scenes, there isn't much action. It's just the two of them chatting, like you said, kind of like the mentor, and it's great. It's so grounded, and like you said, you're writing from the heart, from your experiences, and it comes out on the page. Like this book is so heartfelt. Like every character seems like you said, it lived in your head forever. It seems fleshed out right from the first few panels you see them. You almost feel like you already know who they are. Right, it's so well done. I can't say enough good things about almost every character. Like Johnny says, every character in this you like we were talking before. Like Johnny said, I don't know who to root for. You want to root for every character in this book because you like them all, right? For one reason or another.
That's a big thing. Is wait till they all kill each other, right? Like that's gonna be so fun, right? Like you got to love everyone, and I promise you, not everyone survives. You know, and they've got. There's so many twists. Like, so what I did was, like, my wife's a mystery writer, and I realized that everyone thinks I'm just this detailed Frank Quietly Jeff Darrow clone. And I was like, man, what if I could actually hit like a heartfelt moment, or take the banter as a disguise, almost like make you like that banter, but then all of a sudden flip it when the action hits. And like, and what I did was I paced all 5 volumes of Jon out. And it just keeps like everything just keeps turning. It's like, oh, you thought this was this, it was this. You thought this was this, it was this. and there's not a lot of clues. I'm not really a red herring fan, but it does make sense again when you read it again. And my wife is doing like 3 writing jobs because she's got the how they're absorbing it game down way better than me. It's like how they're absorbing it, but now you know that they're being clever because you are a mystery writer, right? So now you know they're trying to examine it for your clues. So you're playing like that part where it's lifting out of the page and into their head. You're playing cat and mouse. You know, you're doing like that. You're doing like a third thing. And I get to put a little bit of that in Jon because being around her so much with mystery writing. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, like you playing it kind of close to the vest. I kind of like how the book resolves itself without like completely answering too many things. I'm really hooked though, and 5 volumes, that's pretty cool. So it's going to come out to be in about 500 and something pages, almost 600.
Yeah, no, the first one was really, the first book is really like a first issue of a comic. That's how I see it. You know, I know it's bigger than that. It's 120 pages altogether, but really, if it was a movie, you really only got like 2, essentially the catalyst, a little past, but it's still rewarding, I think, what I have. And I really like the ending, although it was probably my worst writing. The last page in red when he's got the axe, and it's like, my whole idea was that, and I don't know if you remember, but he's just holding the axe, and it was like, this is the story of Ax-Wielder Jon, blah, blah, blah. And it was basically like everything you just saw ain't shit about what you're gonna see, right? Like, because now he's got a reason to come to the castle and fuck things up, right? Like, and that was what I was super excited about. And then like, but now that means like with book 2, I'm going even bigger and crazier, and it kind of is stressful because people like it. Now I'm like, am I a one-trick pony, right? You have that thing, but the characters live now, you know, they're just there. So I plotted it out. I've written the second script. Dos Pastores is drawing all 5 ending sequences, and he's already drawn the 5 covers. He's painting them all, and he's painted them all. And I've already got all the layouts. I keep looking over it on my board, but they're all laid out. The whole book is laid out, and I'm working on that now. So it's going to be a fun ride.
I gotta hand it to you though. Putting this book out in the format that you're doing it, like the first book is 120 pages. Like, I appreciate that so much because I'm kind of getting off the whole floppy thing. Like, I'm really not digging the floppy experience anymore of like month to month. So I appreciate
novels anyways right now.
Yeah.
Graphic novel format.
I appreciate like the story coming out 120 pages. You can really get into it. You really get a full story. You don't have to wait. It's a much more pleasant experience. And I'm glad you went this route. Like, doing 5 big volumes like that, I appreciate it so much. It's so much better, and you get so much more out of it, I find.
Especially for a crowdfunding thing, because I find it's a little disheartening because you pay so much for them, and like so many of them are just, you know, your typical floppy. And
yeah, there's a couple things that I was pretty adamant about. One, in the direct market space, the floppy is essentially an advertisement pamphlet for the hardcover. That's how I look at it, and I'll buy both. You know, I'll double dip. Mm-hmm. But I thought more so than this, like, really meditate on why our comics are staple. Why are they staple? Like, you think about it. It's because they were newsstand trash, and they became a collectible, and half of the market is still stuck in the collectible mode, right? They need it. You see it. They got to do all that. It's variants. It's all this thing, and I'm guilty. We did one variant for stores. That's fair. But I do think that then it has to be monthly. Monthlies have to be on a schedule because on the month end schedule, that's when a lot of the lights are due, like the electrical bills due at the comic book shop, right? And I'm like, why are we being beholden creatively to this system of collectability? And I do think books are collectible. That's cool. But I want it to be read and loved and be printed beautifully, you know, like I'm spending a lot of extra money on the stitching and the binding, the spot gloss, the feel of the cover, like all that matters. And I want that experience, that physical experience, to mean a lot. I would never cut out the shops. What we did for shops was give them standard 50% off. But since I'm crowdfunding, I'm remarking in every book they ordered, which you can never do directly at Image, right? You can never do that directly at Dark Horse. But now, hey, there's actually an incentive. Like, wait, I can get this book instead of 40, I get it for 20. Oh, instead of 20, it comes with a head sketch of Jon in it and it's signed. I bet you can get your $20 back out of it. You know, I bet you can get $60 out of it because I think I'm charging 80 on the campaign for it. So you can undercut my campaign and order 5 books a time if you have a shop. And I love shops and I want them to be around. I still go to shops, but I think there's a way to meld the two if we all work, you know? And so, yeah, thinking about that was a big, like thinking about that staple and how that, when I read European editions, the Bande, Déjeuner, or mangas, I'm getting stories. I'm getting something I can throw in my bag that I can read and not just feel like I got to protect this thing. I got a little sample. I got to wait for the next one. It doesn't feel, I don't go back and read my long boxes. I go to my bookshelf, and I have long boxes. They're all over this place. But I go back to my bookshelf, my library room in my house, and we have a library room, and we're pulling up my hardcovers of books I love. And I was like, I want to make an evergreen that people can always read and be like, this is great. And that means like doing your best work. Like there's that problem that there is the deadline, right? But I was like, I have no deadline. Leviathan got canceled. And I was like, I have no deadline. I have no deadline. I have no excuse not to take my best shot. And I just wanted to take my best shot. And then luckily I had the right people around me to help me with story and turn some of the things of making it miserable to watch stuff into a positive for once.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, it was nice in the back matter with the Hickman notes and stuff like that. I really appreciated that. I liked reading those. That was fun.
I love back matter. I don't know if we did good enough, but I put a lot of time into that freaking back matter.
There's a lot, and there's a treasure trove of stuff back there. I think it's one of the better ones I've seen. Yeah,
and then Hickman's been great. Like one of his notes he left out was to try to make it more PG-13. I was like, I'm not going to post one. I would never make a PG-13, but he said I could sell it better, you know. And I was like, no, I'm going mature. I was like,
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this is going to sell. I mean, there is a lot of violence in it, but I mean, there are.
I mean, like, it's fun. It's cute. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
There's some
just chopping each other to pieces. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think I really like the idea of balancing the softness. Like Hickman mentioned, it had heart too, and he was one of the first people that read it, and he gave me a great pull quote, and that means a lot because I do think I love all this violent stuff, but I am a dad of 2 girls. I was raised by a sensitive father, but he's a construction worker. He's a man's man, and it's like, could I capture some of that spirit in Jon? Could I make it resonate, you know, when you see the turns and know that you thought you were just going to get a spectacle of gore and gore porn or whatever, and what you're getting instead is an actual story? But could I marry the two? Like, I really love the Kenny Powers actor. What's his name?
Danny McBride.
Yeah, Danny McBride. So Danny McBride in like Vice Principals or Eastbound, like he can go so insane, canceled insane. But when Kenny Powers is having a problem with his wife and he's actually hurting, you can feel it. And I was like, what a world that he could hold those two. What a great creator that he can play with absolute insane dude humor and absolutely heartfelt stuff. And I was like, man, I want that. I want to combine what I love in comics, heavy metal, but some of those heavy metal things weren't written the way Brian K. Vaughan writes. What if Mobius and Brian K. Vaughan wrote something? What if Frank Quietly and Brian K. Vaughan wrote something? And I was like, I'll never be those guys, but if I can get 40% of each, I'm gonna be a whole boy. I'm gonna be a whole man. You know, like I want to be a creator. And that's another thing too. Is like I want it to make. I want to be seen as a creator because I don't think I was ever seen in comics. I think if you just sit there and draw Spider-Man or fill in issues, it's going to be so fun to play with your action figures, your Ninja Turtles. But you're one of the guys playing with a toy that was handed down. Isn't it cooler to be the Steve Ditko? Isn't it cooler to be the Jack Kirby? Isn't it cooler to be the Kevin Eastman? Isn't it cooler to be the Mignola? And the work, some of those guys, like Eastman's got a rough drawing style. Frank Miller, like some of them are rougher, but it's theirs, you know. Everything you do will be derivative of theirs. and I wanted something for me, and that was so important to me when making Ax-Jon. So
I gotta tell you, man, I've always seen you. I'll tell you the truth. Like, I can't watch the trailer for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. I keep expecting to see him eat somebody. I just want to hear him go "harm" really fast. So, like, I just want you have affected me. I recognize you and your art right away. Thanks.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think it's not. I know that the people. I know I've got great fans, but there's that thing where I have a derivative style of like 3 or 4 very core, unique guys where I'm on that tree. And I'm very proud of that. Like, call me Kmart quietly all day. I'm that guy. But I don't think like the humor in the heart that comes with actually writing and drawing. I don't think I was ever going to get that just with the drawing. I was always going to manifest other people's ideas. And I always had that problem. Like, Manhattan Projects originally wasn't supposed to be Marvel style, but Hickman was like, you're just doing whatever you want, you know? Like, and he was like, quickly realized we needed to do it like a jazz band instead of him dictating to me. And I guess I've always wanted to break out in that direction. So,
yeah. So we have Dylan in the chats here. Like, yeah, the crowdfunding is done. So you can't get in on that because you even reopened it like last month for a few weeks, right?
Yeah,
because
we reopened it because it was out, because we're waiting on the printer. And so we reopened it for like another couple weeks. You could possibly bug Zoop because Zoop could do it because the book has been ordered and we sold almost 2,000 copies. And I over-ordered 1,500 for myself just so I could have them at conventions over the years.
Yeah.
And like you could try to write them and say, hey, Nick said you could try to write. And I know they've helped out stores. Maybe they'll help out an individual if they want. But maybe, but that's not on me. I didn't really, I was like, I don't want to reopen it because I don't want the next, like, because I don't feel like it needed to be reopened 100% because I don't want you thinking the next time, well, I can just wait and he'll reopen.
Yeah.
Like, you're undercutting yourself in a way, and you're not rewarding the fans that really felt that anticipation and the excitement to start. But Zoop was like, we should do it because you're dumb if you don't, you know? And I was like, okay, we'll do it.
Because, man, you topped out at, what, 210 about?
Yeah, 210, but I think we finished at 204. So even in the reopening, it was another 6,000, which is cool. We moved like another 100 copies.
Yeah.
But you could probably write Zoop and get him to maybe.
But also, you said you guys were in talks with the publisher, right, to get this out, maybe.
Yeah,
so I mean, if he could probably wait, it'll probably be in comic shops and stuff eventually if you guys close this deal that you guys are negotiating, right?
Well, it wouldn't be the same 100%. So like the way that I see a publisher using this is I do the oversized extra back matter, and then a publisher would get the undersized soft cover cut
cover.
Down. And then that would be like 2 years away, you know, because basically we would have to solicit through bookstores. That takes a year. And then after that, the soft cover needs to be printed and shipped and translated. And so that could be like a year, at least a year plus away. So that's still a ways out. So it'll be like, it's going to be in shops. But the good news is comic book shops ordered it heavily. And they did. We sold almost over 500 copies to shops, which was really cool for the campaign. And so you can reach out to the shops, or I'll get Zoop to tweet out all the shops that bought it, and you can just buy it from them. You know, and that's the thing too, is I don't even want to sell my extra copies until the stores sell theirs. Like, I want to make sure the stores have time to move the product, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's another thing, because Kuroshi's fairly new. Like, what's going on? Are you going to put up like a web store where people can order books through your, like, a website, or is that not in the plans? Or how do you, what are the plans there? Are you going to have like a Kuroshi site where people can go and order the Kuroshi books, or are you just going to?
Well, I own the Kuroshi LLC and I own the website URL, right? Like, I did all that stuff, but I don't know exactly how that would infer if I did get an imprint with what his publishers have demands too, right? Like they might want to say they control stuff or whatever, and all that needs to be negotiated. So I don't know how that will go. I always thought I'm just going to open a web store down the line, and it'll be just Ax-Wielder. Right now it's linked to the campaign, Ax-Wielder, Ax-WielderJon.com. Ax-Wielder.com I own too. So Ax-Wielder, if you type that in your URL, eventually that's going to go to a web store for my overstock, right? But in the meantime, you just got to wait for a little while. So while shops move their stuff, I would say reach out to shops. A big one that ordered was Bedrock City Comics. They ordered heavily in Austin Books and Comics. I'm from Texas, and they support me all the time. I know they ordered heavy. You could reach out to them and get it. They actually had for every 4 they ordered, the variant we did was to make it extra special for shops. As the 5th book was thrown in there, and it's the red cover instead of the Dos Pastores cover by me.
Okay.
And so they have like every box that is ordered, they get the variant that they can charge more, do whatever they do with it. And so that's the only way you can get the red variant. I'm only printing enough for the shops, so there's only going to be like 100 copies because 500 times 5 whatever. So yeah, there's only one in each box. So that'll be super cool. We got other stuff planned too. We're going in production an action figure in the next like 8 months. We've already got it prototyped and it looks really great. And we're in the middle of dealing with manufacturers and stuff on that. So there's going to be an Ax-Wielder Jon action figure too. Which
I saw you posting those, and you're like, "Oh, my wife's going to be angry."
Oh, I got the toy guy was like, "Dude, it's not." The toy guy's like, "We're a year away. You're you're promoting that way too soon." And I did like, I don't think I deleted it, but yeah. Once you got the numbers back of how much that cost, oh my god, they're like $60,000-$70,000 to make a 7-inch action figure. So.
Oh, but you're going to do a 7. That's pretty big for, especially.
I know. The current contract is a 7-inch fully articulated. I don't know if it's going to go down to He-Man and only 4 joints. I don't know. Right now, we got to like plan that. We got to plan that very smart.
Well, the He-Man would kind of fit with the character, right? It would fit.
I know. I think if we took a He-Man figure and just shrunk its head down, it would almost have been done, you know. I wouldn't mind it match He-Man, you know, that would be cool because like I grew up on Masters of the Universe, and I think like in that, like what's the genre of Ax-Wielder Jon? Is it barbarian? Is it like it's got technology?
Exactly. We touched on that a little bit. We did like a quick review of the book with and that's what I was saying. It's funny. I love how you didn't set any rigid rules. Like there's a guy with a 4-wheeler with a little trailer. You got guys riding dinosaurs. When the girl's drawing the story, she has a whole arsenal of modern weapons on the side, you know? So it's like a mishmash of all these different genres like coming together. So, man, I love that you didn't put any strict rules. Like anything goes, right? You're just your wildest, anything that can come out of your wildest imagination, you can throw down on that page because you didn't set any rules that restrict you from going any which way, right? So I love that, you know.
Yeah, there's that line that my editor liked a lot, and I kind of said it sideways, but it was like Bloodbath. You've seen this whole comic, and then at the end, Bloodbath, there's a dinosaur dragging a bunch of carts, and Bloodbath goes, "Is that a dinosaur?" And I was like, in my head, I'm like, "Is that a surprise in this world?" You know. Yeah. But my editor loved that line, and I was like, it was just like, but like all this shit's happening, all this crazy stuff. Every monster that's heard, he says, is that a dinosaur? Like that surprises you, not the flying mech and the fucking everything else going on, you know? Like, so to him, he's never seen a dinosaur before, you know? So that kind of stuff makes me laugh. But then I'm like, do people read that and laugh too? Or are they just like, is that some throwaway? Like, you don't know how people will absorb it, right?
No, it was good. I got a little chuckle from it as well.
It's just like a nonsense throw. It makes me laugh. And a lot of times the stuff that makes me laugh, people are just like, what is he laughing about? You know? And it's just it's so rewarding to hear that you guys liked it or and that you felt something when some of the turns happened, man, because I did roll a lot into it, you know?
I gotta tell you, I love the turn and the bloodbath, the double splash page. Right after. Holy fucking shit, man! That was like.
I gotta tell you about that because so Frank was giving him these lessons for your listeners, and it's like, okay, don't be quick to action, keep heights, you know, like withhold stuff, like you don't got to tell everyone everything, whatever you got to do to survive. And they were originally crammed in an early bit of dialogue when they were walking, and basically Frank is trying to teach this kid a lesson to not be over anxious and quick to get in fights, and so he can survive being the executioner and living in a world like this. And that third lesson because he makes that comment about Horus and Horus's statues behind him, and he's like,
Mhm.
what if I killed Horus? And he's like, Horus would kill you with a look, buddy. And he gets reprimanded a little bit, and I was like, well, now there's this tension in the air between the two characters. Like if Johnny says, Nick, do this, and I say do this, and now we've had this tension. But there's that moment on the bridge. You can show it if you want, if it's on there. But it's like there's that moment where he turns around, he slaps him on the shoulder, and he says, "You want to know that third lesson, kid?" And I was like, man, when that clicked, when I realized that's where it's supposed to go, and I pulled that third lesson right there, dude, I got goosebumps writing wise. And this is the coolest thing. This is why I love the On Writing by Stephen King. I didn't write that, dude. The story demanded that. That was already in the ether. The second you stake a claim and you start scaffolding what he calls his archaeology, you dig for a femur and you pull it down. Well, there's going to be something else that kind of matches that, balances it. And it's almost like you're going to the dark side of your imagination and just having stuff fall out. And when writing happens where you're like putting a puzzle together, and that's why the puzzle theme and the puzzler's in there. Because that story is puzzle, like it is putting a puzzle together. And then like he's literally saying that, like, oh, if you had all the pieces of the puzzle. So I was like, I'm gonna fuck with the reader and put a puzzle man in there and like, do even more meta bullshit, and so like I was like, and can the world hold this, and can I creatively pull it off, and I still don't know. We'll see the bigger audience, but right now the reaction's been really strong. And I'm really proud of it, and I'm really happy that you guys had me on and said you liked the thing. It makes me really happy.
Yeah, fucking just stoked that we're able to get you on. Like last year, I was like, when I told Johnny, I was like, fucking Nick's got this fucking book coming out on Zoop. I mean, I don't know, maybe he won't want to come on, but I'm gonna ask him anyway. Fuck, I mean, it's too cool. We got to get him on to talk about this. And you're in full promo mode, so you're like, yeah, man, fuck, whatever you need, just let me know. I'll come on, we'll talk about it. I was like, yeah. Because
that's my other advice, man. If you ever sell, I mean, you guys have a big show, but some people only had like 5 followers or something. But I was like, I'm going to make sure everyone knows about this damn thing. Like everyone possible knows about this. Like I put too much into it not to talk about it. I think also stacking skill sets. Like I can draw, maybe I can write, maybe I can't, maybe it's all hidden under my ability to draw, right? But I can talk, like I can talk passionately, and if I can stack that skill set into being a publisher or promoting my book, and not all artists are as verbal or as ego megalomaniac like me, but I'll do it, like I'm gonna try to use everything I can to promote it. So like no show is too small, and plus the small show could be the big show in 3 years. So why would you ever pass up a show to talk about your work? And some people would be like, some of my buddies are like, yeah, but you had to do a lot of interviews. Yeah, I love doing interviews. Like, isn't that cool? Like, isn't that the coolest part of this whole thing? Like, isn't that why you're doing it? You know what I mean? So
one thing I think would be really cool is maybe if you put out a hardcover edition of, or not a hardcover, but like a physical edition of the production version of the PDF you sent out to us. I think fans would go crazy for that. I know a lot of people that really like, like the line art and the breakdown of comics and stuff, and really are hungry for that type of stuff. So I think if you advertised it and kind of showed that around, I think that would be another big seller for you, man, because it is a lot of fun to look at. Like I went through both of them this week before the show, and I really got a kick out of seeing, the production version of the book, like with your breakdowns and not finished art, and then like seeing how it was actually finished. Like it's really cool. And since you have that available, I think that would be a neat little thing to kind of throw out there for fans. So I think people would pay for it quite a bit, because it's
cool. I never thought about that. And that's the thing too, is like if I have creative control as a publisher, like I can just say, like if a friend has a good idea like you had, I'd be like, yeah, we could do that. Like I could totally do that. That could be a $5 book or a $10 book as an add-on the next campaign, or like, and I think people might want that, especially because so many people in the comic book community are also creators or aspiring creators, right? Like so many people, and they care about the process and they like it. I never know if people like that stuff or not, but I actually had that reaction when I sent out the PDF originally. I was like embarrassed, because I'm like, man, these pages are just crappy roughs. This is this is not how I don't want to be seen naked. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh God. And but then people were like, oh, I loved they felt like I did it.
You turn the next page of the PDF and it's like just quick thumbnails, right? And I was like, oh, this is cool. Then all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 pages of those, and you get back to like finished pages, and it was like, then this part, because you worked like different parts of the story, right? So I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, we're still getting the full story. And it was cool that like you see the process and where you're at with the book and see how far along you were. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, people liked it more than I thought, and but to me it was like, this is embarrassing, but it's cool because I would like that if it was a creator I liked. I don't know.
Yeah.
Will people really get like a circle that says butthole monster above it? You know what I mean?
But like I said in the back, just like you gave us the pages with Hickman with his little notes. Like, yeah. I mean, I think it's the same type of person that's going to enjoy both those things, right? Like the people that, like Johnny said, people that are into the process, like process materials and stuff like that, for sure. Like, I love that. Like, I love like all the notes you put in the back, the letters, like kind of like your afterword where you kind of explain where it came from and the story behind it and how you got it going. Like, I love reading all that stuff, and it just adds so much more context to the book itself and where the book is coming from. And as I read that, I picked up on so much more stuff from your book after reading your afterword, after like how like you're saying you're in the hospital and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this, and like how you broke it down, and then it just adds so much more to the book when you read that stuff. So I mean, I think all creators should put that in there, and it just I don't know. I mean,
see, I originally felt so bad about like it's as honest as can be. Like this, what I wrote in the back of the book is true, but it's like, am I going to use my child's sickness as a reason to sell this thing? You know what I mean? Because I do know that people will be like, man, this guy made this when he was in dire straits. That's a good story to sell, right? Like that's a good thing too. But then I was like, I always go back to truth, and I was like, just tell the truth and don't feel apologetic about it. And I was like, well, this is how it came up. You know, it's just, it is why it was made. And maybe your creation comes from, you have a RoboCop toy that you loved and his leg broke off as a kid. You could sell that story passionately too. You know, there's so many things. Like I do think the selling part is the next jump. The writing part's tough, but then like actually selling the book, and that becomes, as an artist, that's like anti-artist almost, you know, where you're like, well, I don't want to be a scumbag. But for me, like, we lived at the Ronald McDonald House. My kid had a colostomy bag. She lost some of her intestines. She's fixed now. She's had reconstructive surgeries on all that. But it's like, that was a weird, strange time in my life. And hopefully no one goes through it. But it was tough. And it was like, man, here's this hero. And I love Flex Mentallo. And Flex Mentallo was drawn at the beginning. And by the end, he's like a guy in the book, right? He's like, Wally Sage is drawing him. And I was like, man, I'm going to make this matter. I'm going to make this moment matter. I'm going to make this count for something. I'm going to figure out what this guy's story is and why he showed up when he did. And I think putting meaning into it. And I was like, if I breathe my creative life into this thing that floated down from the ether, he will be a provider for me. Like, I need a provider for my family. Okay, I'm going to make a thing that's going to be good enough, or maybe really good. If I can do good and good, maybe the two, good writing and good art, maybe it's great. Then if I can do that thing, then he will provide for me creatively, financially, and all the stuff that comes with making good work. And that was a real goal and a real hope. And it's something I prayed for, man. Like I've never said like, God, please, like I'm going to roll this dice. And I was like, man, tell the story and honor my father figures in my life, and like do this. And then I said, I want to do this, you know? And that was a real conversation I had with God, man. And he's really blessed me.
Yeah. It's, man, we, like I said, I love all that. Love the book. It just gives people perspective, right? And it pushed you to do this, right? I mean, nothing happens for nothing in life. And, you can't take things for granted, and you didn't. And you shared something with us like this book and something in your life, and we all appreciate it. And, man, you knocked it out of the park. So, I mean, congratulations to you, man. Your first shot writing a book, and I mean, I don't think you could have asked for better. I mean,
I can
fantastic.
only follow my face from here, so it's all downhill.
I can only say, you nailed it, man. Like, for what you're going for, because it's got like, I'm not going to say family friendly, but like, there's just something that's utterly charming about the entire book. I mean, sure, it gets gory, sure, it gets brutal, but it's just fun, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but adorable in its own way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to put it.
I love that I can put that Dos Pastoras painted cover, and Jon is like almost crying. He's so intense. He's like, like if you zoom in on his eyes, like Dos Pastoras has almost got him crying, dude. I'm like, but I love that you can see that looks like a bloody stubbed toe for a cover, but you could say adorable. That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
That's like the most insane. Like, how could you say that and adorable like that? That's probably like my favorite ever.
Juxtaposition.
Yeah, I love that juxtaposition.
So I'm going to bring it back to something you said earlier. Like, fans of your work, they can buy original art at Felix Art, right?
Yes.
Most of your pages. So, man, if you guys want original art, go to Felix Art. You can get Nick's original. Not even pages, panels, really, right? You're almost selling it by the panel, right? Because you did everything so big. So, man, how much art have you sold from the book? Is there still a lot available, or
everything we offered sold? Felix made me over $100,000 just on the art, which was incredible. When Mike got backed up and couldn't finish, we had to bring in other colorists. I extended some scenes, and Felix has those extra pages from the original book. So there's probably like 15 extra pages that he was going to wait until the physical copy gets in people's hands. So if you follow Felix Comic Art, those will be available. I've got this one here is, I'm going to send this to him too, but this one's like going to be the soft cover version down the line. I think, like a different angle on Jon.
Okay, yeah.
Detailed. But there's going to be a couple pieces that he's going to drop. He might hold that one for another 2 years. I don't know. He kind of has his own pace and own schedule. But we originally talked, the PDF is out, but some people are physical readers. So let the physical readers get their book in a month or two whenever these printers get on their ball, and then give them a chance. So whenever the physical book shows up at your house, start looking at Felix Comic Art, and there should be an art drop with like 50 pages. Just
to give people an update, do you have any updates on the printing, when it might land?
Yeah, they printed the tip-in sheets for me to remark, but it's currently not at my house. So what they're going to do is, once I remark it, all the side stuff has been done, all the lithographs, all the toys are made, cards, all that is done. We're just waiting to send it up, package it all into fulfillment. But the main thing we need is the tip-in sheets for me to remark. And then once I remark and sign, they stitch them in and send to fulfillment. So that's going to be a month and a half, hopefully. Zoop is leaning into them. They're in Canada. We printed at a really great, I think it's Frizzens, and they do really great work. And so we don't have to ship overseas and do freight.
Okay,
so
nice.
It'll be faster. But that said, I'm still waiting on the tip-in sheets. They're printed, and the tip-ins are like, they're going to print a page, a set of pages early, where I can do the signature page without me having to fly there, right? And so they're mailing me the comp copy, the prototype copies, me and Chris Stevens, and we're going to get to review it. And then when I mail back the pages, they stitch them in and they go. So hopefully, the book is done. Hopefully the PDF has been sent. Hopefully this physical copy, I wanted to be out before June, which probably ain't going to happen now, right? It's close. But my birthday's June 6th, so I'm like, man, I don't want to be 41 and not have this out. Jack Kirby did it at 40, like I wanted it at 40, like
yeah.
It happened now. So, but no, it looks like it's going to be in June sometime, hopefully.
Okay. Are you hitting any conventions this summer where you'll have the book available for people to go visit you at conventions and maybe pick up the book at the same time, or?
The only one for sure, well, none are for sure, but I'm really looking at New York at the end of the year.
Okay.
There's one called Eastern Rim Comic Con that I do it's a really small one, but they're a local. They're not local. They're about 3 hours away, but the guy's really good. His name's Jerry. and Jacob, he goes by 2 names, oddly enough. And then I'm definitely doing a Bedrock City con. Bedrock City ordered heavy, and I think it's October. And those are all local, kind of Texas, South Texas kind of shows.
Okay.
The only big show is probably New York.
Okay.
I don't know how I'm going to get all the books up there that I want to sell. I might have to drive or something from Texas, which would be a pain. But yeah, New York is the first one I'm eyeing. There's not going to be a show, but the Felix Comic Art crew is going to all go to Japan, like Paul Pope, James Herron, all those guys. We did that like 6-7 years ago. Felix wants to do that again, so we might do a weird pop-up signing there, but who knows? Who knows how that goes?
That sounds cool, man. Yeah, awesome.
Pretty interesting place to roll with. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I don't want to keep you too long. I mean, I'm sure you're a busy man. You have things to do. So I just wanted to say thanks again for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Love the book. Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, maybe within a month or two, the book will probably be sent out in people's hands who are waiting to read the physical copy. And let me just tell you, man, you guys are in for a treat. The people who didn't read the PDF, when you get that physical copy, you will not be disappointed. I guarantee it. So, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Joe and Johnny, for having me on. And glad we finally, third time's a charm, we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much, man. Stroking my ego, telling me it's better than what it is.
Fishing for compliments. Look at this guy.
I'll sleep well tonight with you guys. As my grandmother said, rest in peace. She said, "Go blow somebody else's ass."
I think you're a better fisherman than you are an artist, man. I can't believe it.
Well, all right. I'd like to thank everyone that came in the chats and hung out with us. And man, hope everyone has a great week, man. So yeah.
Friday we're gonna talk about comics that made us cry. We're gonna have some homies on to do that. We'll see you then. See you Friday. Take it easy.
Have a good week, everyone.
See you guys.